Hey, it's Mr. Johns. Welcome to this episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator. I wanted to get you caught up with what I'm flying these days. I'm pretty excited about it. Got a new computer, so the graphics are better. And playing the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, a few years old, but it's the latest, greatest. I know there's supposed to be a new one coming out, but I've said this before in kind of an earlier review of the game. This game is worth having. It's so good. There are so many things to do out there. 37,000 airports, and I don't think that includes airways, airstrips. So something that's not paved, something that's dirt or grass. So because there's just in Idaho there are a bunch of those. So probably hundreds. So just 37,000 airports, but then just thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of airstrips and other places you can land anywhere. That doesn't really matter in a simulator, which is a whole nother challenge, really. So 2 million cities, 1.5 billion buildings, and they use real-time weather. You can actually tune into radio frequencies and listen to real-time chatter on the radio. Just unbelievable. So it's pretty realistic, and I'm so excited to do some flying. So, I've been through some of the tutorials, and it's a really easy game to learn, and it really gives you confidence to want to do more. So, I decided I'm not really interested in airlines or larger airplanes. I like the little ones, even though I don't like to fly in real life, just so you know. But if I loved it, I would love to fly into these little backwoods airstrips that are all over the place. So after I do Idaho, I want to bounce up to Alaska and do some real bush flying that back into the real wilderness. So cool. So what I decided to do was, after I discovered this website, IdahoAviation.com, they keep track of these airstrips. It's the Idaho Airstrip Network. And once I just started looking through this and realized they classify them by difficulty and location, and they divide them into wild airstrips, which typically located in the remotest settings away from roads and communities. There's primitive, typically located in remote settings, but may be accessed by low standard roads. Developed airstrips. These are typically located in areas of high use, often in remote settings, but you can access them by improved roads. So even they might be in small areas around Idaho and other places. Typically, there's a road. You can land. You could hitch a ride, get an Uber, probably go into town for pizza. That's developed. Community airstrip, typically located near a community with access to full-service roads and close to some development. So even more towards the city. And then there's this category called Other, which it says, no facilities require special skills and equipment beyond normal anticipated for general aviation, and use is discouraged. So fantastic. And there's 4 of them. Those 4, Dewey Moore, Mile High, Simmons, and Vines. So what I did, of course, being me, let me see where I put that. I thought I had it open, but it is, let's go recent, Idaho Airstrips. I put them into a spreadsheet. Of course, I'm a tech teacher and love this kind of stuff. And so these are the airports, not really airports. I should really call them airstrips, because they're not airports. There's no buildings there. There's no employees there. And these are developed, and I'm going to make a new tab for each classification. None of these are wilderness, but looks like 4 of them are privately owned. If you were flying in a real airplane, you would have to request permission to land there. Excuse me, before you did. Most of them are going to be dirt. There might be some grass ones. And so as I land on them, or if I can tell from Google Maps or Google Earth, I will write that in. And then compass direction, that's the layout of the runway. So as you're approaching, it's important to know, if I'm flying east and I know that the runway is east-northeast, it's going to be slightly angled to the north. And if it's a north-south runway, then it's entirely north-south, and I'm going to have to adjust my approach. Now, speaking of approach, it's also good to know which way it looks like it would be best to approach to land. Some of them, like the one to Smith's Ferry, east or west, because it's out in the desert. It's pretty flat, but the one that I'm going to fly to second is in Pine, and it's kind of up a canyon, and it just looks like from Google Earth, I can fly up from the south pretty easily, but from the north there's some mountains, and it might be a little more difficult. So I do have the GPS coordinates, but the game it gives you GPS. On the settings, on the easiest settings that I have set up, it will give you a route to follow. So each airport also has their own identifier. For Boise, it's BOI. These smaller ones, a little less known. So the one I'm going to fly in today first is Prairie, and it's 2U0. Nearest town, Prairie, and it's in the southwest region of Idaho. And this number over here is, if I fly these as a flight plan, as a group of places I want to go, from Boise, I would go to Prairie first. It's the closest. And then, now how do I know that? Well, so what did I do? I put them into Google Maps. So of course I did. So here is the Prairie Airport. You can see it's running east-northeast. I'm going to land where that pin is and taxi down and pull off the runway. So there is nothing here. There might be looks like a windsock right there. Other than that, no buildings, no employees, nothing. So there's a truck. This would be a fun place to go fly remote control airplanes, by the way. I'm thinking, that would be fun, but that might be a whole nother hobby. So let's take a look at, from Boise, I'm right here. So Boise Airport would be out here. Boise Airport. Let me get my Boise Airport. Getting my there we go. Familiarity. So I grew up here, so know this really well. And some of these, by the way, 84 airports in Microsoft Flight Simulator are handcrafted. So they're designed, 3D designed by designers. I had to pay a few extra dollars for the Boise Airport, and it is pretty phenomenal. It is the Boise Airport. So there's a few things about Boise that I noticed aren't exactly correct. In fact, there's like a river that flows up across the freeway and floods it. That's not real. So their data is a little messed up in places, but other than that, it is Boise. It's Microsoft, so they're using their satellite information, and it's so cool. The whole world is 3D. 20 years ago, if you told someone they would not believe you, but I just can't believe we're living in a time where we can play a game and fly anywhere in the world that's real, and it looks real. So, all right, so we're flying from the Boise Airport, and we're going to head out to Prairie. So that's the distance. I'm not really sure nautical miles. We'll have to find out. Haven't looked that up. That probably would be another. I didn't put that in the spreadsheet because I'm not always going to be flying from Boise. So we're going to be landing in Prairie, and then what I did is I put a pin in every one of these developed airports, and there they are. I think there's 19, if I remember right. Take a look at the spreadsheet here. 19, and so I put a pin in each one, and then I ordered, if I were flying from Boise and just making like a week of this, fly into a couple, 2 or 3 a day, and then crash, find a hotel, bed and breakfast, campground, because there is one. Like right here, this is Magic Valley. I didn't even know there was a town there, so I'm learning some things about my own state. There's a little town right along Magic Reservoir, and another one on the other side called Magic City. Now, I don't know if these are actual towns. They look like it. I'll have to look that up. So here's the airport. As you come in, you can land here and end up at the end. You can see the end of the runway there, and then you can turn around and take back off the other direction. And so, but there is a campground. I thought there was at this one, but maybe it wasn't this one. Nope, I think it was the next one. So then we would hop up to, let's see. This is Smiley Creek Airport. I don't think this is the one either. But anyway, you can really see there's a windsock, some airplanes, and this one actually has a few buildings. And so this was a little bit larger and some airplanes parked there. Now, this is, to be fair, kind of up near, I wouldn't say it's by Sun Valley, but because Sun Valley is way over here. But this is Galena Summit. I mean, you could land here and drive to Sun Valley. So, I mean, there is an airport, a larger airport in Sun Valley, but it doesn't surprise me that there are some airplanes here. So, might even be some people who live here that are pilots. So anyway, the process is hopping from pin to pin to pin and ending all the way up, way up here. This is Priest Lake, where there's an airport, and it's so cool. You can just zoom in and see, like, this is the actual place. There's a red airplane parked at the runway when they took this image. So, and I'm going to land here. That'll be my last flight. Now, how long will it take? How many videos will that be? I don't know. You're not going to have to sit through the whole flight. I'm going to speed things up and cut a little bit out, maybe a lot out, because flying is, once you're up and you're comfortable and you're balanced, it's everything's trimmed right. It's pretty much just kind of cruising along. So I'll be doing that. And once I finish those 19 airports, I will then jump into the next difficulty up, which I'm not really sure. I'll have to look at these to see. I'm thinking it's probably the community ones. Maybe I should have started with community ones, to be honest with you, because it sounds like they're even closer to development. So probably should have started with community, but I'll do that next. So I'll do these developed ones first, then I'll do the community ones. I'm really excited about New Meadows because that's the first place I taught. And there was an airport on the top of the hill right above my house where I lived. No airplane ever landed there when I lived there, but I'm going to land there when I do these. So I know most of these places. Haven't been to all of them. Garden Valley for sure, Idaho City, New Meadows, Stanley, and Warren I've been to. The other ones I don't know. Port Hill, Elk City, I know where it's at, never been there. But Dixietown and Kavanaugh Bay, no idea what those are. So learning about my own state as I fly in. So, all right, so we're going to do our first flight today, which is Boise over to Prairie, and that'll be our first hop. So why don't you jump in with me? You can be in the co-pilot seat and give me a hand, and we'll see how it goes. Pretty excited. Here's what it looks like when you set up your flight plan from Boise over to Smith Prairie in Prairie. Tells you the runway number and all that good information. So I'm doing a little bit of pre-flight stuff, but got it set up again on a pretty simple, pretty easy settings, so it does a lot of it for me. As I improve and get comfortable, I will increase the difficulty and learn how to do the communication with the towers and all that great stuff. So it's good to know the gauges from the inside of the plane and the real view, but I really prefer the outside view here, and I kind of toggle back and forth. And I should have taken a look at the airport to show you the gorgeous graphics of the Boise airport. It looks exactly. It is modeled after the actual imagery of the airport. And you can see in this view, all you see is sky. So that's one reason I don't like it. I prefer to be able to see this. So I can see the Boise airport there to the right as I am taking off.
Cessna X-Ray Golf Sierra, continue for west departure.
Those are my call
Boise
letters.
Tower, Cessna Alpha Sierra, X-Ray Golf Sierra, continue for west departure.
And the way he worded that, I thought that maybe I had taken off prematurely, but I'm pretty sure they told me to go. I'm not sure. Maybe not. I didn't wait for the go-ahead. I think I was supposed to wait for them to say clear for takeoff. So, you know, I'll learn. I learn as I go. So I'm reaching the end of the runway. Down below, you'll see there's this river that does not exist, and it crosses the freeway and floods it. So there are some errors. That's a pretty big one right there. There's no water there in real life, but that is the freeway. And as we turn north, I mean, the Boise River shouldn't be there. It should be a little further down towards town. But as I start turning, you'll see the foothills that are there, and then Bogus Basin Ski Resort up top, Schaefer Butte, and Table Rock. All that based on real imagery. That's why it looks so real, other than the river. So we're flying basically in the Orchard, Broadway, Street areas. And then as we get out a little bit further, we're east of Boise over, what's it called, Bowen Crossing and areas like that. So I'm climbing a little bit too steep, so kind of getting anxious to get up to 5,000 feet, so I need to take it just a little more patiently. The goal is to get up to 5,000 feet cruising altitude, and then I'm heading due east towards my destination, which is just at 30 nautical miles over to Prairie. Nice thing about flying is that it's as the crow flies, right? As the airplane flies. So again, not as nice of a view from inside the airplane, but I like to toggle back and forth just to remind myself what's what. It's pretty well trimmed. I noticed that I can take my hands off, adjust the trim slightly, and it'll fly fairly level, but it is turning a bit. And I need to figure out the trim. I don't know what that is. How to adjust the trim so it doesn't turn. But all in all, I can't complain. I played other, as a matter of fact, earlier versions of this exact game. I think it was the X version. Steam, I think it was Microsoft Flight Simulator X Steam Edition. I could never really get the plane to fly like I wanted to, and it was just not fun. This has been a great experience. I'm real comfortable right away. So here I'm just kind of toggling my rudder, see how the airplane reacts. So other than that water, just remove the water that's on the right there, but the Boise River is there on the left.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra, leaving my airspace frequency change approved.
So some of those...
Boise Tower, Cessna Alpha, Sierra, X-ray Golf, Sierra frequency change.
Some of that
Boise approach Cessna Alpha, Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra is type Cessna 152 2 miles east of Boise, 5,200 feet. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Boise approach. Squawk 2135.
So some of that chatter I need to learn more about, but it's pretty much set up where I don't have to even respond at this point. But I should be saying affirmative, or, yes, no, whatever. So here I'm just going to speed it up a little bit as we are approaching. We're 13 miles. We're about halfway, so 13 miles from Prairie, kind of through the light mountains. And the Prairie area is pretty deserty, so here we're back to real-time speed, and I'm just adjusting with the rudder so I can slip. I notice I'm just a little bit off. I want to be lined up with the runway, and at this point I'm not quite. And being my first flight, not really sure what the pink line is on the map, or on the compass for that matter. I think maybe it just means that's a straight destination, the straight direction to get there. Doesn't necessarily mean I have to stay on that. I thought for a minute I needed to be over on that pink line, but that's one thing that threw me off. And then I realized, no, I'm way north of the runway. So as you can see here, I'm slipping to the right. Not turning or banking, just kind of using my rudder and slipping. So I'm kind of kicking the back end out. If that was a car, I'd be like sliding the back end out to the right. And that should get me lined up right there with the runway. I think those red lights mean that's the end of the runway down there, I guess. Again, not real familiar yet, so not the best approach. I'm kind of up and down, but just going to take a deep breath, and I'm just idle speed. Got my finger on the brake button, touch down, straighten it out, and then press brake. And my objectives, it says, is to taxi the aircraft to the chosen destination, reduce speed to 15 knots, and exit the runway. So, which is exactly what I'll do. And here I end my flight, and I save the flight. So this is where I'll take off next time for the second flight in the trip. So come back and join me for that. Should be fun. I'll catch you next time. Mr. Johns is out.